Foreclosures are exploding inside of the United States of America. I think a lot of people are pivoting and making adjustments. And when they call me crazy, just don't call me broke. When you call me crazy, just don't call me broke. All right. I got a couple different videos I want to skim through really quickly because a lot of people are house poor. Shout out to J Dubs. I'm going to read that shortly. I got to give you the air horn and all of that. Shout out to J Dubs. I'm definitely going to be reading that super chat in a minute. Y'all love me. Y'all love me. It is going to be gnashing and gnawing at the teeth for people. They are stopping paying their car notes. They stop paying their house notes. Student loans are about to start back, and it is going to be a huge opportunity for the people that have made the adjustments, lowered their lifestyle, and then can take advantage of what's going on out here. Make sure you hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's cook up, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's get to some new disturbing economic indicators here. We've followed as closely as we can the housing market on this show because it's so important to the economy. It's so important to all of you and your lives. And let's go ahead and put this up on the screen. We now have home foreclosures rising nationwide. Florida, California, and Texas are apparently in the lead.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Florida, California, Texas. Florida, California, Texas. The places that are talked about the most. Florida is not under siege because of Republican or Democratic policies. They're under siege because of where they're located, because of the habits of the people that are trying to move there. And most people cannot afford, nor do they see what is coming on the horizon over in Florida. It's overinflated. Or even Orlando, which is not even southern Florida, is being bombarded with people that are moving in there that can't afford to be there, but most people jumped in there in order to be able to have a certain payment, and they think that they're going for the weather. Contrary to popular belief, when people move down to Miami and when people move down to Florida or southern Florida and stuff like that, they can't afford to live there. The people that are in Florida, that are native to Florida, can't even afford to live there. California, we already know what the fuck is going over in California. Texas, people think that they're going to find some kind of relief over in Texas. But Texas is being bombarded with a bunch of people that are moving over from California and Florida. Let's continue.
You know, you've got May foreclosure-related filings. That includes default notices, scheduled auctions, bank repossessions, all up 7% from April, 14% from a year ago. Nationwide, you're talking about over 35,000 properties. You also have actual foreclosures up 4% month over month and 5% from a year ago. As I mentioned before, leading the way, you have Florida, California, and Texas. Now, they do sound a note here to keep in mind the context, which is that in spite of the increase, these overall foreclosure rates actually remain about level with where we were pre-pandemic. So part of what happened is you had a lot of forbearance programs during the pandemic. Well, those have now lapsed and now they've gone. So in some ways, you're back to business as usual. However, there's still a lot of reasons to be concerned. Workers' incomes remain below their pre-pandemic highs. Of course, the cost of consumer goods and services remains elevated. That puts workers at a greater risk of falling behind on payments. We've talked here about how credit card debt and other types of debt have surged to all-time highs. And of course, inflation continues to bite into incomes and makes it very difficult to keep up on your house payment. So
I want to share with you this other video now. So you got the basic foundation, right? I want to skim through another video really quickly because I think that he also adds a lot of value.
All right, everyone, we got big problems in the U.S. housing market right now because banks are starting to take people's houses.
And then I'm going to be reading super chat shortly. All right. Thank you to everybody that contributes to the platform. Thank you to everybody that hit a like for the YouTube algorithm. I appreciate you guys.
And the foreclosure filings are surging, with data from Atom Data Solutions showing that foreclosure activity in America spiked in May 2023. In particular, we saw 35,000 houses with foreclosure filings, which was up 14% from a year ago. And my concern is that we're going to continue to see These foreclosure filings in America increase into the second half of 2023 and the first half of 2024 because so many homeowners in America right now are house poor. They're struggling. They can barely afford to pay the monthly payment. And as the recession gets worse and the unemployment rate goes up, we're going to see even more foreclosures hit the U.S. housing market. And that's something that the CEO of Atom Data Solutions agrees with. He sees that there's an upward trajectory in foreclosures that suggests the possibility of continued heightened activity. In addition, foreclosure completions saw their largest monthly increase in the last year.
The one thing about it is that all of these forbearances that happened during the pandemic, basically, they're coming home to roost. Because even when people had, shout out to Lance Brown, even I'm gonna be reading super chat shortly. Even when people had the opportunity to make the adjustment, a lot of people then started to move resources that they otherwise would have had allocated to car notes, had allocated to paying credit card bills, and had allocated, more importantly, to also paying their student loans. Now they jumping further into the hole. And the only way in which you can then get out of the hole is to just go through a whole reset. And a lot of people are house poor. When I've been telling y'all for years to stay away from these 30-year mortgages, when I've been telling y'all all throughout the pandemic, listen, don't buy anything, wait till everything chill. They said, well, Anton, but the interest rates are really, really low. And so they got more house than they could afford. And then more importantly, they did it and they justified the decision because the interest rates were low. And we all had predicted, obviously, especially since we knew that inflation was out of control, that the Feds was going to raise rates and then eventually it was going to get to the point that it is now. But the difference is that they bought more house than they can afford just because they said that the interest rates are low. And so instead of balancing that out and getting something that was less than 30% of whatever it was that they were paying income-wise, yes, Anton said don't buy. AE, everybody knows, and I had been saying it. I had used myself as my own example. I said, yo, I'm not buying anything during the pandemic. Why? Prices were out of control. People were paying more than $100,000, $140,000, $200,000 above asking. It was a bidding war. They were going and buying these properties sight unseen. They were getting the properties without even going through an inspection. They were moving out and they were changing their lifestyle, not understanding that a lot of these jobs was going to force them back into the office, or at the very least go through a hybrid schedule. So now you got a bunch of these people that got stuck into a crib doing things that they wasn't supposed to do. They bought more house than they can afford just because they raised the amount that they were going to pay for the house by saying that, well, the interest rates are low, but it still made them house poor because they didn't know how to balance their budget and everything that was going on at that particular time. Now, my Patreon members, I had been putting in the Patreon members my adjustment. And what I was doing was I was buying land. And then I bought land so that I can make sure that I could wait for the lumber prices to go down and for the labor prices to go down. And then I just sat on that land, and now I'm in the process of actually building homes fully cash, no financing whatsoever on the properties that I had bought the land for, right? Because now the houses and the homes that are being sold or that's being listed, because there's still a housing shortage in the supply. So there's still a market for the people that want to buy, and there's still a market for the people that want to sell, but the prices are still overly inflated. And so now I'm giving people the blueprint and I'm breaking down inside of the Patreon. I'm shooting a video right now. Sabrina will tell you, I told y'all. Why would I get into a bidding war with people for homes that are overinflated just because interest rates are low? It's not free money. You still have to spend it. Just the interest that you paying on it is lower than you would have to now. But instead, you need to make more informed decisions as to how it is that you need to move. It's just like what it is that I was just saying with Florida. See, a few years from now, they're going to say, well, Anton, what the fuck is going on in Florida? Why is everybody moving up? Well, A, they can't afford to live in Florida. B, you're going to have a lot of changes when it comes to the climate within this country. And then C, the inability for you to even get your home insured in Florida. A lot of people don't take into consideration property taxes. They don't take into consideration insurance. They don't take into consideration the true cost of being able to maintain a home, maintenance costs, homeowners association fees, repair costs. The true cost of owning a home, most people don't even know. Most people have no clue of what the true cost is of owning a home. They don't even know the total amount that they're going to pay for that home before they sign on a dotted line of purchasing that home. They don't understand the property taxes that's going to go into it. They don't understand that if you put down, they're so basic. They're so uninformed that they don't even know what private mortgage insurance is and how much more they're going to be paying because they only wanted to put 3.5% down because the going theme is better to own than it is to rent. Well, when you do things out of order, you then become forever a renter because you don't understand how it is that you need to be able to make the decisions that's then going to allow for you to be successful long-term in your asset class. A home is an asset. It's not something that you're supposed to utilize in order to justify bad decisions. Just because you can, or they say that you have the ability to get approved, does not mean that it's a smart decision to do so. It's a lot of things that I want to buy right now. You don't believe me. You don't believe me. You don't believe me. These are decisions this is stuff that me and Rita talk about every single day.
Hello?
Hey, you busy?
No.
Hey, you don't have to go into details or be specific, but when I was talking to you over the last couple of days about money and my budget and all of that other type of stuff, in a general sense, I don't know if you can explain it the way that I can. What have I been saying as far as paying stuff versus hoarding money?
You were saying that, well, you was kind of torn, I guess, because you were saying that you wanted to pay everything off, but then you were saying that you kind of wanted to keep the cash to build the house with.
I wanted to pay certain things, or I wanted to buy certain things, or I wanted to pay certain things off, but I wanted to hoard the cash in order to do what?
Build the house.
Why am I hoarding cash in order to build the house?
So you could pay cash for everything. You don't need a loan.
Thank you. It's a lot of things I want to do. It's a whole lot of things I want to do. I want to pay cash for my Lamborghini. I genuinely want to pay cash for it. When they call me with that allocation, I just want to pay cash for it. But instead, you know what I'm doing? I said, you know what? I'm going to make the sacrifice now because I know that I do not want to finance a house. I don't want to take out any hard money loans. I'm not even used to holding this much cash. So instead, I'm going to make the decision to do the thing that's in my best interest long term instead of that short term joy of whatever it is that I'm going to do. I'll own this home forever. It'll pay for everything. Everything that I'm building, every piece of land that I'm purchasing, everything that I'm setting up over the next 5 years, as far as how many, you got to learn the game. You got to make the sacrifice. I will never, ever have a mortgage in my life. I will never, ever be owned by a bank. I will never, ever be in a position to ever get foreclosed on. You know why? You know why? Because I'm willing to make the sacrifice early. And then here's the beautiful part about it. Shout out to Raphael. I'm going to read that shortly. Not only am I doing it, if y'all watch the vlog that I dropped, it's like an hour long that I dropped on the Anton Daniels channel yesterday. Not only am I playing it this way, because I truly believe in real estate, I just believe in the right real estate. I'm not going to buy it in a depressed area. First rule of real estate is location, location, location. I'm also documenting the process so that I can then put the video inside of the Patreon for y'all to duplicate exactly how I do it. And you don't even need a lot of money to do so. Because I'm learning and then I'm going to make adjustments so that I'm going to give you the pros, the good, the bad, the pros, the cons, the mistakes that I made. That's the reason why I'm building one first. And then we can duplicate the process. And then I can give you the game of how it is that you can do the same thing without having to owe the bank and then pay a fucking 30-year mortgage, paying PMI and all of this other type of stuff. This is the type of the conversations that we having right now, this accountability, this type of stuff that we talking about right now. This is the type of stuff that they don't want you to have a conversation about. You know why? Because then the banks can't make any money as a result of then charging you the fees and then the interest that comes along with being able to service the mortgage. You think that the credit report, I want a man that want good credit. So you want a man to be able to buy stuff and spend money on things and continue to pour money into a system that you said is against you. Okay, let me continue to play a little bit more of this video. Shout out to the Wealth Building Journey. I'm going to be reading that super chat shortly also.
And in particular, in this video, I'm going to show you some of the cities and states where I think the foreclosures are going to get worse and banks are going to take the most homes. But in particular, I think one state is going to get hit really hard by this is Florida, because we're already seeing the foreclosures increase in Florida. If you go on Zillow and you look around Orlando or Kissimmee, you'll see more and more listings like this that say foreclosure on the bottom. And the reason that the foreclosures are going to be bad in Florida is because there's a lot of risky mortgages. There's a lot of bad lending that goes on in Florida. There's a lot of FHA.
And these people keep telling y'all to do FHA loans. They keep telling y'all to take out hard money loans because then you're going to be able to refinance and pay the money back. And you keep getting all of these people that's giving y'all this real estate advice and they don't know what the fuck they talking about. They don't know. They trying to get you to, you know what our culture teaches us? They teach us to flip. They don't teach you to hold. I have not seen any real estate advice from anybody within our culture that's telling y'all to hold. They telling y'all to flip. They trying to show you how to flip, how to anticipate the market, how to buy depressed properties, how to do wholesaling. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but there needs to be more additional insight that allows for you to really make the decision that's going to be in the best interest of not only you, but your kids. They teaching you how to flip. You're going to get caught holding that bad loan and you're going to get fucked up. I'm telling you.
Home buyers who only put 3 to 5% down. There's a lot of investors and second home buyers who are more likely to give up the property in a downturn. And as a result, Florida got hit by foreclosures very hard in 2007. I think they're going to get hit hard again. And I'm going to show some more of that data later in this video. But first,
somebody said, who got $50,000 to put down? It's a lot of people that have $50,000 to put down. Most of the time, the problem with y'all, if we want to just get down to the fundamentals of it, is that y'all have lifestyle creep. You got to get the car note. You got to then get the insurance in order to pay for the car. You got to maintain the car. Then you got to go and live in a space to where, see, they laughed at me because I was living for free 2 doors down from my parents when my dad was the maintenance guy at an apartment complex and me and Rita was just chilling, holding it down. They laughed at me. They laughed. Because it wasn't about, we didn't even start spending money until later on in life. We was trying to stay near our parents as long as we possibly could. They laughed at me. Oh my God, look at his little bedroom. We was comfortable. We was doing really, really well. Daughter was going to a good school, flying everywhere, enjoying life. Money was piling up, assets, continuing to buy places. People literally laughed at me because we stayed home and we stacked up. Y'all so busy trying to be independent, y'all will go out there, y'all will take out student loans that y'all can't pay back, and then you'll hold the government accountable and say, it's the system that's set up against you. Who y'all trying to impress? Who are y'all trying to impress?
First, it's important you understand as a home buyer and investor that we're only starting to get back to normal in terms of the foreclosures right now. The government during the pandemic, they banned the foreclosures for 2 years. And even if the banks wanted to foreclose, they couldn't foreclose because of COVID. But now those restrictions are gone. And due to those restrictions being gone, we are seeing that increase in foreclosures. Now, take a look at this. It doesn't look like a huge increase quite yet. You can see it's gone up and basically gotten back to normal in terms of the foreclosure filings. Of course, the first thing you guys probably notice when you look at this graph is 2009. Wow, look what happened in 2009. The foreclosures went crazy. We had almost 1 million foreclosure filings per quarter in 2009, 2010. One of the reasons why the last crash was so bad. But what I'm concerned with is that this foreclosure line is going to spike in coming quarters here, much like it did in 2005, 2006. You can see the foreclosures were low. People didn't think the housing downturn would be that bad. And then they went vertical. And the way that foreclosures go vertical and can increase very fast is
Somebody said only people with parents can do that. What about the rest of us? Get you a fucking roommate. Share a crib with somebody. You know, the interesting thing about it is that even my brothers, we've all combined living, resources, all of that other type of stuff until it made the most sense possible. You did, Jay Woodfin. I'm about to read that super chat shortly. In our family, we've always combined resources. We've always leveraged the opportunities. Yo, I was so excited when my father became a maintenance guy, the head of maintenance over at an apartment building. He said, Anton, you need to stay here because your mom is getting sick at that particular time. She's much, much better now. We moved two doors down and we stayed for free until he passed away. It wasn't until after almost a year after he passed away, we was like, you know what? I guess it's time to go ahead and make that move. We're going to go ahead and have to spend some money. Then we was able to really, really, really step out and do what we wanted to do. Y'all better get y'all a roommate. You better line up with friends. You better rent out a room. You better do something, because the way in which y'all think that y'all can traditionally do it, you need to come up with a better solution. You need to lower the cost of your living expenses, get rid of the shit that don't mean anything, and then start to put money into the stuff that actually is going to make more money for you long term. It's a very simple solution, but it's very, very difficult in order to execute it. For real, seriously.
Combine risky lending and bad lending with economic turmoil and a recession. If you have that combination, you can go from having no foreclosures to tons and tons of foreclosures. And what we're seeing in the US economy right now is that we're in the beginning stages of a recession. The leading indicators say that the recession is either here or it's going to get worse in coming months and quarters, which suggests that the unemployment rate is going to go up. And in fact, we're already starting to see job losses. We're starting to see initial unemployment claims increase.
So, long story short, because I don't want to beat a dead horse, but long story short, what you do see, and I want to read some of these super chats because they're really, really good. People feel like they're entitled to live in Florida because the weather is so good. When we was out in California, shout out to my dog Jay Woodfin. When we was out in LA and California and Venice and all of that other type of stuff, we talked to some people, and I talked to the guy when we was like on a little boardwalk on Venice. And I said, yo, bro, how can you afford to live here or whatever? And he was just like, I can't not live here because of the weather. Even if it was the worst thing for him. They won't move into a space where it's better jobs. Now you combine in the fact that they have higher unemployment in that. It's not necessarily the jobs. Unemployment itself may be low, the availability of jobs, but quality jobs is not available for you. A lot of people, I've seen people stay in spaces just because family is there instead of moving out and going to get that bag. People have lifestyle creep, so now they see their friends balling out and getting all of this stuff. So now they got to go out and buy stuff. They don't know that their friend's 401k is anemic. Their friends got everything on Afterpay. They can't really afford to live the life that they want to live. They out here spinning and balling, and all of the stuff that you see on Instagram is not really real. And so y'all are so easily influenced into what you think the standard of living for life is instead of trying to look for life hacks on how it is that you can do things differently. It is going to be I'm telling you, over the next 2 years, you are going to see less jobs, less quality jobs, a hollowing out of the middle class. There's going to be more people that continue to get into the game because it's oversaturated with people that don't know what the fuck they doing. They jumping into the real estate game. They financing it. They putting 3.5% down, hoping to get a flip. Everybody keep telling you to buy instead of rent, which is good, but you also need the context to go along with it. And instead of you putting your pride down so that you can then allocate the majority of the resources to minimize the amount of money that you're going to give over into the banks and interest, you doing a thing that's not best for you because you truly don't understand how money works. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat.